Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Hey, Barsha. Good to see you.
How are you? This is so different.
Right, you're on the other side. You're on the receiving end of the interview.
Yep.
This is wonderful to have you. We're going to be talking about that. Let me welcome everybody to the show. And also, hi, Dr. Lisa. Thanks for joining us today, my wonderful moderator.
Hello, and Barsha, it is so nice to get to meet you this way. And yes, it's going to be an interesting twist of roles here. So sit back and enjoy the love.
Exactly. Flipping the script.
Yep.
So, hi, everybody. Welcome to Making It. I'm your host, Terry Woolman. And my guest today is music director, artist, podcast host, Debra Barsha. I appreciate you joining us every week, and I'd like to share my intention that inspires this podcast. Time passes quickly, and I've learned that we should do what's in our hearts and do it well, without apologies or excuses. I encourage you to create your life and art in your own unique way and express your artistry with joy and with abandon. Be willing to work uncompromisingly for what you believe in. Success will have a better chance of finding you when you live your life with integrity, focus, and passion. Be selfish with your discipline and selfless in your performance. And don't forget to have fun along the way. If you're joining us in our live audience today, we'll be inviting questions and comments during the second half of this show, so make it count. And simply request an invite to speak, and my moderator, Dr. Lisa, will bring you on stage to join the conversation. Let me tell you about our guest. Gleefully defying classification, Debra Barsha is a rare talent who sees show business itself as a medium. As a singer, songwriter, actress, composer, pianist, Barsha is just as comfortable fueling the grooves on a George Clinton album as she is writing an off-Broadway musical. With a career that includes television, soundtracks, children's musicals, one-woman shows, and performances with pop stars Thomas Dolby and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, this musician manages to put her undeniable stamp on everything she does. She's recorded with Bootsy Collins, Dave Stuart, Patti Austin, Thomas Dolby, George Clinton, and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. On Broadway, she was the pianist for Tina, the Tina Turner musical, and associate conductor pianist for the Donna Summer musical and Tony Award-winning musical Jersey Boys. Her solo albums, Women in Windows and Barsha Raw, can be found wherever you enjoy streaming and downloading your favorite music. Barsha, 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 welcome to Making It.
Thank you, Terry. I've been following your show since I got on Fireside. I think yours was one of the first two shows I went to.
Well, thank you for that. And so when did you start your podcast?
I came on the app in January and I watched for a while. Mm-hmm. And then I think my first show was February. I started in February. I wanted to plan out what I wanted to do. And I started in February.
This is not what I was going to start the conversation with, but no. I love this. This is going to go wherever we take it. Right. So since we're talking about you being a fellow podcaster, why? And by the way, let me preface with, I love your approach to hosting your show. I'm a fan of your show and was honored to have been a guest on your show recently. But even as a listener, I've been following you as well. And I love your enthusiasm, your intention, your preparedness as a fellow music director. I know we've talked about that before, but why? What possessed you?
You know, I've always wanted my own television show.
Yeah.
and I really wanted my own, like kind of, I would say more like Merv Griffin back in the day where Merv got up, he sang his theme song. Right. And then he had guests and then he maybe got up and sang another song. So like I wanted to focus on interviewing people, but I also wanted to have like a moment where I performed. So now I have this theme song and I plug people's names in every week, to my little theme song.
Right. You customize for every guest that you have, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And it's just a little ditty. It's a little jingle. But anyway, because I'm actually interested in what people at this point in my life, how they got where they got, because I think that's more interesting. I mean, it's great what they do, of course, their manifestation of what they want, but how they got there everybody thinks it's some direct overnight thing to success, and it's not. And that's one of the reasons I love the title of your show, because about making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about the journey.
Yeah, it's about the journey. So I said, at the time, I always go into this place after a Broadway show ends. You create a family and then it ends. And I, of course, write my own music and everything too as well. But there's this sense of like maybe a dysfunctional family or maybe a regular family, but we just don't have those people anymore. We go on to the next thing. And I thought, I feel like really like hearing about some people that don't get highlighted. Like I started out with the dance captain. I started out with somebody who was an understudy on my podcast. I didn't start out with the stars that always get interviewed. And I like the behind the scenes people that no one really lifts up in that way. So I do that, plus, of course, you, who are right out there. But I also like to hear from the people that nobody hears from, So that's partially why I did it. Then,
well, it takes a village.
Yes, and I did want to delineate. I wanted it a weekly show. I knew that, and then I wanted to talk about the three things that are the most important in my life, which is music and Broadway, which is week 1. Week 2, I do on a queer day. Which is so it's like being queer in the world, in the world of music. And then the third week is my Buddhism. And so those are kind of like 3 identities. Of course, I have many more, but that's what I wanted to talk about and find guests. And my 4th week is my wild card week, where I get to do anything I want, interviewing anybody I want. Yeah.
And those are the things that I want to talk about, those 3 things. And let's start with that. I recently watched a 30-second video of you playing the finale of the Broadway show, Tina.
Yeah.
And you just radiate pure energy. You are just joyful, explosive, focused, taking care of business and having fun along the way. And so there's a quote that I read of yours about that moment, which is, I was pumped. The very first song of the score, the very first measure on the downbeat, the whole show starts with the Buddhist chant that I've chanted for 34 years. This gig was a culmination of my Buddhist practice and my career, which, and then in parentheses, you say, which we know ultimately is all one thing. I think that's just so fantastic, because it really was like just a convergence of everything that you've worked for, and your practice, your practice as a Buddhist, your practice as a musician, your practice as a queer woman walking through life, and as a wife and as a friend, and it truly is everything. So I just loved watching you do that. I know that you're known for your energy that you bring to the stage, and I think it's fantastic. But let's talk about, like, those moments are rare in what we do, where you work with an artist that's just so magical that this moment is this is what I dreamt. Yeah. And it seems like that moment, that 30 seconds of that clip, was one of those very just beautiful, special moments.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because my friend took that, zoomed in on me. I had no idea she was going to film that.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, it even blew me away, because I thought of, all Buddhism is, the type of Buddhism I practice, of course, is cause and effect. So it doesn't have a judgment. It's like you make a cause, you get an effect. And if you don't like the effect you got, you change the cause, right? So you kind of learn along the way, right? And so when I first got this job, and I actually had to audition because they wanted to make sure I could groove. A lot of people on Broadway aren't known for necessarily grooving.
Right.
So the music supervisor was in England, and he Zoomed with me, and he said, I'm going to send you 3 pieces, and I want to hear. And, things can be written in 16th notes, and they can be played da 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 da, or da 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 da, like, know the difference. Yeah. So I played these 3 pieces. I played like 8 measures. I had prepared so much. She said, stop, I get it. So like I got hired, which is great, because grooving is my thing.
Right. You have a serious, deep funk background.
Yes. So I said to him, does this show have anything to do with Tina Turner's chanting? And he said to me, wait till you see. The whole show is about how she got away from Ike, which is like What's Love Got to Do with It, the movie. Yeah. And he said, so I came in, And sure enough, he didn't tell me, but I opened up my score of the key 1 part.
Yeah.
And there was Namyoho Renge Kyo on beat 1. She sits down, she chants. It was incredible. And I just felt like, whoa, I've been chanting for 34 years. And this is the show that whatever happened. And along the way in this show, they were portraying Buddhism not quite correctly. And I said, boy, I'm in my 60s. I don't know how many more shows I'm going to be doing. Why don't I go to the director? And I said, listen, I just want to tell you something. We don't chant to anything outside ourselves. We bring enlightenment up from inside ourselves. So you can't really give her a statue to chant to. I took a chance. I could have gotten fired.
It's risky. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I made the choice. And do you know what that resulted in? 3 years later, last Friday, the director of the show came to put the first tour on stage that's going to be touring and paid me to come in and talk about Buddhism.
That is a beautiful manifestation of standing in your light and your truth.
Yep. So
wow. And you had the blessing of sharing your knowledge, experience, perspective as a Buddhist, as somebody who grew up Jewish.
Yeah, I'm a Jubu.
A Jubu.
But in this Buddhism, you bring your whole self to it.
Right.
It's not like you take away anything and become something else. You're saying, this is me, and I'm chanting with my whole self, and I'm Jewish.
I had one very memorable experience with Leonard Cohen, who was also grew up Jewish and became a Buddhist. And he was asked to do something for, I believe it was the anniversary of, please forgive me, I forgot the name of the gentleman who brought Buddhism to America.
Was it Daisaku Ikeda? Or which Buddhism, though?
It was here in Los Angeles. I don't remember.
He brought Nichiren Buddhism. Daisaku Ikeda brought it here. But I don't know what other kind of Buddhism. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, he asked my dear friend Perla Battaglia, who had sung with him for years, if she would perform because Leonard just wanted to be there, to support and celebrate. Yes. And Perla asked me to come play. And so we did Leonard Cohen songs at the request of the person who is the leader, the spiritual leader. And it was a huge honor, and it was really fascinating to me. But what was really funny was the other Buddhist monks who were there that lived there, because they were so funny. They just had a sense of humor, and and I asked a question very respectfully, and they responded back with a joke, and I got to see, like you just said, it's just a way of looking at life and
philosophy,
a philosophy and an energy, or a use of energy in a very productive way.
Yeah, it's vibration with intention.
Vibration with intention.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that. Here's something else I want to ask if you'll clarify, and we are going to interject Buddhism into this whole conversation.
Okay,
I'm really interested.
That's the way I look at it, so
Good.
I can't help it. Yeah.
You prefer to go by Barsha instead of Debra, but I also see in your descriptive, and I just give me a little education, she, her, hers. So, what's your point of view on that?
Well, my point of view on that, since pronouns are a wonderful thing, I'm old school. Like, I grew up, when I came out, I identified as a lesbian, and but I dated lots of men, and I always wondered, like, why am I dating these men if I'm gay? And it wasn't a painful thing, but I come to realize now that my wife of 18 years, 20 years we've been together.
Happy anniversary! You just had
Thank you.
On anniversary.
Came out to me as, now that my wife heard all these pronouns, said, you know what? I'm non-binary, and I actually realize that now. I am under the trans umbrella, and I'm non-binary. And I said, does that mean you're neither or both? And she said, both of those too. I'm not of these normality genders. And so then I looked at myself, and I looked at my pronouns, and I said, well, if I'm with somebody who doesn't identify as a woman now, what does that make me? And I still can be in my own she, her, hers, but I still can be a person that's, I guess by today's things, pansexual, because I'm married to somebody who thinks their gender is not a woman. So I can no longer really identify for me as a lesbian. I'm more of a pansexual, but my pronouns are she, her. But I wouldn't say that I was gay or anything now. I'd say more that I was queer. And I love that. Queer was not the right word at the time. It wasn't.
Right. It was offensive at the time. And now
Yes.
it seems like it's empowering.
It's empowering.
And is it appropriate or inappropriate for me to use the word queer? Being
Oh, no, I love
heterosexual?
you. I love using queer. I love it. Yep.
Great.
That makes me feel younger too. But the reason that I use Barsha is because we were at Jersey Boys. I replaced the associate conductor whose name, you know her,
Was
Debra
Debra.
Hurwitz.
Yeah.
And everybody started calling us, because they didn't want to distinguish, Hurwitz and Barsha. Because while I was training, I was under her tutelage and I was learning, and then when she left and I took over her job, I liked Barsha because I thought it levels the playing field. It's more about who I feel. I don't feel totally feminine. Like, I never felt like, oh, here I am conducting a whole orchestra of men and I'm the only woman. I never felt like that. I felt like, boom,
I
I'm
felt
equal.
like you. Yeah.
Right. And Barsha just seemed so good. When people called me Barsha, I felt so good. So I just said, I'm going to call myself Barsha.
It's like a 1-2 punch, it's a jab and a cross. It's strong, it's to the point, and it fits you really well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you call yourself that. It just feels right to me.
Yeah.
So you have many specialties, and those specialties have not held you back. Some people get confused by people who are multi-talented, multi-hyphenated, composer, music director, actor, vocal arranger, singer, keyboards. Funk is your background, but you're a Broadway. You are really a very highly respected Broadway musician. Your Twitter handle is Funk Freak. Yeah, it's not
Did research. Yeah.
It's not Broadway she, her, hers, or anything. It's so you describe yourself as Broadway meets funk, and it's kind of
That was George Clinton gave me that.
Oh, George said that. So so he basically was saying it was basically combining Buddhism, Eastman songwriting, marriage, and of course music. Is that what he was referring to?
Well, George Clinton saw me on stage with Thomas Dolby at Radio City Music Hall. He was
Is that where you
backstage.
first met George Clinton?
Mm-hmm. And so what happened, I don't know how much I can say because, George's mouth is a little, I don't know how much I can say here that you want me to
freely.
say.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll speak freely. Get ready.
Yeah, you can use profanity.
This is George Clinton. Get ready.
Yeah.
So he sees me backstage with Thomas Dolby. It's a Blinding Me with Science tour, Flat Earth tour, and I'm singing Hyperactive, which was this big other hit that he had.
I remember that.
And I'm playing keyboard and everything. And I meet George Clinton backstage. I just say, hello, nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. He's backstage. Next thing I know, I'm online when we're on tour. I come off for a couple of days back to New York, and I'm in a candy store, and I see this Spin magazine, and it says, George Clinton and Thomas Dolby have a conversation. So I open up the magazine. I'm waiting in line to pay for something, and get ready, because this is pretty foul what he said, but it was really great compliment too. They said, why are you in such a heavy Thomas Dolby trip these days? He said, let me tell you something about Thomas Dolby. He brought out this woman who's a white Patti LaBelle. This is what he said. And when she sang, they went crazy. And then she never got to do another duet again. She just played keyboards for the rest. Man, I was waiting for it to come out again. If you have to learn something about an audience, if you get their dicks hard, you better make them come.
That's great.
That's what he said.
Wow.
Now look, that I asked. So what did I do? I got on the phone. I was like, "Who's George Clinton's manager? He doesn't know my name, right?" And I really wanted to introduce myself. So when we got out to L.A., I found his manager and I said, I just want to thank him for the quote in Spin magazine. I really tell him my name's Debra Barsha and blah, blah. Next thing I got was a telephone call from George Clinton. Hey, we're recording our album. Come down and record with me. We'd love to have you on the album.
Right there, just like that.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but it was energy. George is about energy and tone. He likes tone. He'll tell you that you'll love this. It sounds like a party on his record. So how he does it is he'd say to me, go in there and sing that line like Cher. Now sing it like Carol Channing. Now sing it like so-and-so. So you would be the party.
Right.
He would cast your voice. So you wouldn't be overdubbing the same sound in the same exact way. Because he liked that feeling, And so I learned a lot about funk. But funk was in my blood. I have,
Right.
see, I can talk to you and know exactly what tempo I'm conducting at and still talk and look over at my thing and pick up a pencil, and this will always be the same. And it was something I didn't even have to learn. I get time. Don't you get time? Time is so great, isn't it?
Oh, I love time. And another thing we both love is silence, the space between the notes.
That's funk.
Right.
I think.
Yes.
It has to do with the space between the notes.
You're right.
And the feeling of that, and if people aren't musicians, when we have a click track, which is just, it's going like that, I make it my friend. That's a drummer to me. That's not, a lot of people go, I can't play with the click. It's like, why?
Right. Yeah.
It's just the foot on
the drum. Right. It's 4 on the floor.
So we shared that, you and I, when I heard.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, there's Valerie. Yeah.
Hi, Valerie. Let me ask you another George Clinton question. What's the story behind you getting Vanessa Williams to sing on a George Clinton record?
Okay, that's an insane story. I was in an off-Broadway.
Priceless already.
Yeah. I was in an off-Broadway show with Vanessa Williams called One Man Band. And that was one of those weird things that happened where I was auditioning as an actress, singer, because like you said, I do a lot of things. So I came in for the audition. Singing.
Did you study acting at Eastman as well?
No, but I was in all my community theater and high school productions of things.
Me too.
So at Eastman, they didn't have acting. They had classical music, which is why I left after a year. Because I was writing songs. I had songs published by the time I was 16. My father used to knock on doors, like they used to say, and try to get me a record. It's like very strange. Anyway, the point is, I came in and the person looked at me and said, this show requires this all-female band and a music director on stage, because there won't be the guy that teaches you this stuff that's the music director. Would you be the music director? I didn't even set out to be a music director, but they saw my skill set. I guess I sang, I played, I could act. So they said, can you music direct? And I figured, sure, I could probably music direct. And from that, and I still am friends with that person, I believe it was 1980, before I went on tour or anything, I music directed this show and Vanessa Williams was in it. And it turned out she went to Syracuse University. My father's an anchorman on the news in Syracuse, and he had interviewed her for her local pageant. It was it was one of those synchronistic things. So later on, what happened was she went to LA like I did, I told you. And I said, George Clinton, it was that phone call that I told you about. George Clinton, I said, Vanessa, George Clinton wants me to come down and sing in his album. You want to go sing background vocals with me? And she goes, are you insane? Of course. It's like, I'm going. So he wrote this song called Hey Good Lookin', which right on the spot, which is from his album R&B Skeletons in the Closet. So it's Vanessa and me and Bootsy and George in the beginning. If you listen to it, we each take turns speaking a little solo, and then I kind of arranged all the vocals. I just did it on the spot. People had faith in me before I had faith. It was very strange. They recognized.
Before you had faith in yourself?
I had faith in myself, but it wasn't like I'm a vocal arranger. No, George go, oh, I said, George, I hear this. Bah, bah, bah.
Right.
And he said, do that. And you're going to love this. Are you ready?
I am.
George Clinton asked me one day what my bar mitzvah chant sounded like. And I went, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech. He goes, do that one again. I go, Eloheinu melech. He goes, that's the one I want. But I want you to go out there and teach it to the singers like this. Do-do-do-you. Wow. So he took my bat mitzvah chant and he put it on a funk album.
Wow.
It's like insane.
That is priceless.
Yeah. So then, I would act out all my songs and his songs. And that's when he said, you're Broadway meets funk. That's what you are.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a great description of you. Absolutely. I know that here's the question, and I guess I'm going to use a little profanity right now also just to ask the question. You had the Brecker brothers playing on a demo of yours when you were 18 years old, when you first really started doing that. That takes a lot of balls to do that. I was doing the same thing out here, like just asking. That's what I moved out here for. I wasn't 18. I was 22, I think, but same thing. Right. It's just like I would ask anybody. Were you always that way? Were you just ask for what you wanted, or
I did not
were you
ask
fearless?
Yeah, I was fearless. I moved to New York at 18 in the 70s. I mean, it was 1978, so I was fearless. My parents were incredibly supportive. But I will say that I did not ask. Michael and Randy had a club called 7th Avenue South in New York at the time. And I was I would go there constantly to listen to everybody. I met Michael one night there. And then he took us back to his loft, my friend Lila and I just played some of my songs for him. And he said, I want my manager to hear you, which was really nice. And then he said, I want to play in your demo. I want to help you get, So he and Randy played on my little demo of 3 songs, try to get a record deal. I never asked him. He just volunteered. It was insane. I had very good luck coming into New York because my father had been taking me there so many times to try to get my songs. So I wasn't afraid of it.
Right.
Songs, you know what I mean? I didn't have a fear of New York. I loved the stimulation. I loved it. I just felt at home there. My parents are from Brooklyn too. I see my mother down there.
Wow, that's great. And my dad grew up in Brooklyn.
Where?
I don't remember exactly where. I'll get back to you on that, but I remember where his sister lived was 814 Avenue M.
My mother probably knows exactly where that. She went to Erasmus High School where Barbra Streisand and Neil Diamond went.
Our parents probably exchanged clothes and bicycles, which was because I met people along the way that, would say, I grew up with your dad. Buddy Rich was in the same neighborhood where my dad was too.
Wow.
Because he said that they knew each other. And, but the thing is, like, somebody would grow out of a bicycle, or this was the time, it was post-Depression.
Yes.
Or a jacket or a pair of shoes or whatever. And you'd either pass it to the younger sibling or somebody else on the block.
Yeah. I love Brooklyn. Share. I still love Brooklyn.
Yeah.
There's a vibe that's so great there.
I want to talk about a song of yours that really touched me, sonically, performance-wise, and just it felt really powerful. It's from your 1999 album, Women in Windows, and it's called Alice.
Oh my God.
And it's a really beautiful song. It kind of stands out on the record for me because it's just piano and voice, and it feels exquisite. It's really exquisitely beautiful. What's that song about for you?
I love you for bringing that song up. No one's ever brought that song up in a. It's. I'm going to tell you what that song is, and then you're going to understand why I'm telling you that. That is a gift to my inner child. What happened was I was in a meditation session with somebody, and they said, "Picture your inner child. Who is it?" And I said, "It's Alice in Wonderland. She's going through all these chests of jewels, and she's telling me to try them on." And and it was a pure version of Alice in Wonderland. It wasn't like some LSD version that people interpret it as, but it was that spirit of just going through different things and trying them on, and saying, "Don't forget about me. I'm here, and I'm here for you." And so when I say I want Alice to know that she's me. At the end, but that you picked that out is just incredible. And I said, when I was doing that album way back, I said, we can't put any instruments on this. I kind of want it to be just a piano vocal because it's just me talking to myself.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't know, but I felt what you were saying. So thanks for sharing that with me too. It's do more of that. Do more. I want to just encourage you to just sing and play. I know you do all the time, but I mean, just recording wise, production wise, speaking to you as a producer.
Yes.
Do that.
I want to. I've been dying to do that. Thank you.
What is stopping you?
Well, Broadway's golden handcuffs, which is you're getting paid a lot of money, which is now I'm going to be a musician with a pension, which is something I never knew.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. So, I had to keep doing that till I got vested, and I knew that one day I'd be able to just draw on that and write all day. Yeah. And so now that time is coming, and for you to, I respect you so much as a musician, and for you to soundboard that back to me, I'm going to do it. I've been wanting to do it for a really long time, and it's time to do it. Yeah.
I'll produce that record for you.
Terry.
Yeah. And just let's do that so that you can just Just be you.
That's amazing. Mom, did you hear that?
Tell me about Billy Porter being, performing in a musical that you wrote, Radiant Baby.
Okay. Billy Porter just blew me away because he
still blows me away. And that's why I'm asking.
Recently, somebody called me and said, quickly, go get Billy Porter's memoir called Unprotected. I said, why? She goes, I'm going to show you why, and sent me a clip. And in the audiobook, he imitates me. And he talks all about his experience in my musical, because at that time, Billy Porter wasn't working and did not know what to do with his next step. And you'll hear it if you get his audiobook. Okay. And he said, Debra Barsha came in and said, I have to have Billy Porter in my show, and screamed. And the whole story is about his voice and who he is, unabashedly himself, unabashedly. I wanted him to play Sylvester in my show. Sylvester was this incredible singer. You Make Me Feel Mighty Real. Does everybody know that song? Okay, from the disco days. And he dressed androgynously, and he sang in the clubs, and he was this beautiful black androgynous voice. And I said, Billy Porter, we have to do it. This is before he did Kinky Boots or anything. And you'll hear in the story in his book, I fought for him with the casting director so hard. I said, if Billy Porter wants to be in my show, we're not going to say no to him. It's insane. Even though, and he says in the book too, it was just a small part. It wasn't a giant part, but he blew everyone away. And he never forgot that I did that. I fought really hard for him. And now, of course, he's a superstar. So whatever.
Do you still get to see him, or do you ever have lunch with him or anything, or is he too busy? Or everybody, you do?
No, yeah. The first time I saw him recently was when I thanked him for imitating, because he talks like this. He says I talk like that, but I don't. He's just doing a New Yorker's voice. But anyway, I called him. I texted him. I said, thank you so much for including me in your book. And he FaceTimed me right back. This was like about a month ago. And he said, you know something? I never forgot what you did for me, and blah, 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 blah. But I had lunch with him because we talked about Radiant Baby, because it's probably going to get done again. It's going to get revived, my show. Yeah.
And will you be music directing that or producing?
No, I can never music direct my own musicals.
No kidding.
I'll tell you why. I tried it once. I tried it because as I'm teaching it, I'm realizing it should be something else, and that I wrote it so long ago.
Oh, you're changing your mind as you go.
So I'm changing my mind as I go, and you can't subject the actors to that. Okay, it's like I'm creating in front of them, and they're going to get confused. Like a music director, it's on the page. You teach it.
Right.
Boom. You don't include them in the creative process. It's like, and I just said no. I'm going to be the composer, and I'm going to choose a music director that I really love.
Oh, great idea.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with greatness.
That's right. Yeah.
And then just stand back. And
if I hear something, protocol in the room of shows is very important. You don't do it in front of the actors. You take them aside and you say, you know what? When you taught them this one thing, I actually want the phrasing to be like this, or something. And like, for instance, the opening to Radiant Baby, the piano part goes like this. Let me see if I can get this on. Okay. This is how it starts. It's in D minor, right? Yes. So, like, if on the page it looks like, but you have to get. So, I would get a music. Thank you. I would get a music director that understood funk, because a lot of them don't on Broadway. And then I would kind of zhuzh it, even like, I don't know how you would describe, Terry, but like that song, they had to sing faster than the speed of life is going, faster than the speed of life is going. And they were always going faster than the speed of, instead of faster than the speed of life. They would go faster than the speed of life. And that's different. That is different. It's on the page, but you got to teach them how to do it. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah.
So how do you break down?
It'd be the same with choreography too. I mean, there's a couple ways to shuffle across the stage.
That's right. And so That's a good analogy. Actually, that's a very good analogy, because everybody expresses themselves differently, but they have to do the same step. That's right.
Right.
So you understand that.
I do. And it's really fun for me to listen to your process, to get inside your head about it as well. I think that's so cool that they're going to put the show up again.
Me too.
I am curious about something. I know with all of your many, many credits, and people can look them up. Dr. Lisa, I would imagine you've already done this. Yes, of course. You can go to debrabarsha.com. Thank you for doing that, Lisa. So that you can, so you can find all of the credits and everything. So, and please do. But I noticed one of your credits, Jersey Boys, that lasted 11 years and 3 months. That's a really long run. And which is kind of atypical in our business to have a very long run. I think my longest TV show was three and a half years that I did of the many, and it was a long time. And I remember talking to the people in the Tonight Show band, to Tommy Newsom actually. And, and we had talked about this a little bit too, but, just like that show went on for a very, very long time. And it took about 20 years for them to actually think like, I think I got the gig, like to relax into it. They already had bought their houses and they were vetted for, retirement and, paying for their kids' college and all that, but it still felt like this freelance mentality. So was that, it's clearly one of your longer jobs. Was that kind of unique, or was that your longest? And what was that like? Because you were talking about dysfunctional family. That truly becomes a family, functional or dysfunctional or all of the above, with that amount of time. I mean, that's a very long relationship.
Yeah. And, that was a really incredible relationship, because I was the first sub on Jersey Boys on Key 1. And then I became assistant conductor, and then I became associate conductor. And that doesn't usually happen starting out as a sub, but everybody at the show knew me, that I had this show that was directed at the Public Theater. So they knew me as a composer. So they knew that I had certain skill sets, right?
Right.
So they just invited me to conduct, and I had never really conducted on Broadway, a lot off-Broadway, but never on Broadway. And, on Broadway, you have to conduct into a camera. Did you know that?
I did, but I don't think I've ever done that. But yes, I did, because I've been in the pit.
This is where you have to conduct. The beats have to be like this.
Right
so
in
you
front
can't,
of you.
There's no like this, right? You have to be right in front of the camera so the actors can see it. And I'm just such a big, crazy person.
And you're also, for our audience, you're also mouthing all of the words a little bit ahead of the beat.
A little bit, because there is a lag. You're right. But I didn't mouth a lot, because this show had been running. My last 5 years I did the show as associate conductor. It had been a long running show already. But I do want to tell you, I want to address what you said, which is so interesting. No one's reading the music when you're on a long running Broadway show. So your whole band's sitting there reading a book. Right. So they're playing, they're flipping the pages on their iPad, they're playing. And then if some actor goes up on their lines, and I go to measure 64 right now, boom, like that. I have to do it that quick, right? Yeah. And while I'm conducting, and they were like, "What's measure 64?" I'm not even looking at my music, so I had to sing like bum, 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 bum. I had to sing them into things because they weren't on their music.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, but they're that good, though, the musicians. It doesn't mean they're phoning it in. It just means it's in their head now. Right. It's like playing a set. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's a different experience. I've had experiences after that weren't long running shows where people aren't doing that. But it was interesting. Yeah.
Right. So I lit a candle today, which I don't always do, to bless our conversation. I just thought it'd be nice to have just something going. And
what is the name of that candle?
I borrowed it from my wife, Melanie. What does it say?
Vetiver and charcoal. Oh, it says what?
Vetiver and charcoal with lang lang, pine, and clove.
I smell it right now in my brain. Yes.
Yeah, it smells great.
I love smells. Yes.
So let's kind of, I want to kick it to you right now. And also Dr. Lisa, if anybody in our audience wants to get involved in the conversation, now would be a great time. But including Buddhism, which is everything for you. It's included in every breath that you take.
Right.
What do you want to talk about right now?
Oh, that's a really nice question. You know what I really want to talk about is how people are struggling, believe it or not, what they're struggling with. Because I think the Buddhist perspective really helps with points of view of struggling and creating value out of everything that you're going through, whether you're a musician or not. That everything has value and enlightenment in it. If anybody's going through anything, I don't want to be a therapist, but I will tell you the Buddhist perspective on it.
Well, what is the Buddhist perspective on the war in Ukraine and our this divisiveness that's been deeply injected into our American culture again, where it's okay to hate queer people of color, where we've become a fear-based, a fearless society in being fear-based and racist, and what's your Buddhist perspective on all of that?
It's very funny because my perspective, and people would interpret this different ways, but I feel like, life and your environment are one thing. So, of course, if we're talking politically Buddhist-wise, we have to start at the local level. I mean, that's not me talking as a Buddhist. That's like saying, but beyond the local level, even more small, is each person, finding their own highest self on how to show up in the world and decide what action they can take in order to live the life that they want to see the world living. But if you take it to its microcosmic of your own life, that's how you show up in the world, and you decide through whatever practice or whatever how you're going to add to the way you want the world to be. Because it's a big conundrum, and you could find this from the beginning of time. I know we're living this life now with the problems we have now. But my mother always tells me about having to hide under a desk, with drills for bombs coming, during World War II.
And we did that. Well, we did that in Miami growing up too, because of Khrushchev, and then we were the closest. We were the ones who were going to get bombed. So we did. I'm in my 60s also, but we would just get under a desk,
right?
For a bomb drill. It's incredible, actually.
Yeah, and I think old age, sickness, old age, and death with the Buddhist thing, that's the whole thing to talk about. It actually involves death. Life involves death, and death involves life. Mm-hmm. So this cycle of what you're going to do here, they call it karma, but cause and effect, is how you live your life so that when you get to the end of your life, you go, I don't have regrets. So now if you're really, like we all are, really troubled with the world and everything, you might, in your own faith, think about, how can I contribute in a way that will make me feel like I did something at the end of my life, not like I should have done something. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, it is for me why I switched from a practice of Judaism to Buddhism, but I brought my whole self, is because I really believe in the law of cause and effect. And I know it doesn't care what you think of it. Like gravity doesn't care what you think of it. It's a law. So like you drop something and you can wish all you want or pray all you want that it changes, but it's a law. And to me, I say, make causes. You'll get effects. You'll know what the next cause is. So I try to bring that out of my life. Look, if you go with the thing like I'm one person and it doesn't mean anything, it's like Horton Hears a Who, right? The children's book, mm-hmm. I always loved that book because it was the smallest who in Whoville that made a difference, right?
Right.
The elephant couldn't hear anything. And people were screaming and banging on pots and pans. And then they found one. He goes, what does it matter? My voice doesn't matter. And he's like playing with a yo-yo. See, it really affected me as a child, that right. thing. And then he goes, yop. And you see the yop in the book go up and up. And the elephant goes, I can hear. Because you don't know which voice it is that's going to make the difference, but it could be yours. So that's what I would say from my own perspective and using Buddhism in that way,
And Graciela, I see you're with us. I'll get right to you. Thanks for joining us. My follow-up question on that is that, do you struggle with that? Or is it kind of like sailing where you sort of, the wind takes you a little off course and you just acknowledge it and just bring it back to center?
Well, my practice is an open-eyed practice, so I'm not trying to get rid of anything, and I'm not trying to get rid of desire. What I'm doing is, like I said, life and my environment are one thing. I am trying to wake up to the fact, like Siddhartha did. When Siddhartha sat under the Bodhi tree, his revelation when he woke up was, I'm already enlightened.
Yeah.
I just have to wake up to it.
Right.
And so it's not, I have to achieve something. I try to come to my practice with, wake me up and let me see my Buddha nature. Wake me up. I need to wake up and create value out of this moment, whatever it is, however painful. There is enlightenment in every moment, and there's a gift in it. Thank you. So I do steer off course because I'm human.
Right.
I'm human, right? So I'm like, oh, my knee-jerk reaction can be horrible. And then I'll sit down and go, okay, what is the value in this? What is the gift in this? What is my next? And it pulls wisdom kind of out of my life. It pulls wisdom that I didn't know I had. When I opened myself up to limitless possibility, by the way, read Herbie Hancock's book.
Okay.
It's all about Buddhism and how he did it. And how he went through a drug addiction. I mean, like, it's insane. He created value out of everything, and it takes you to that's why your show, Making It, is so great. It's not one line like this. It's like this, and you are constantly moving forward. So, yeah, your question is exactly that. I am a human being, but I'm also a Buddha.
Thanks for expressing that with such clarity. I'm getting educated today, and I really appreciate it. So Graciela, hi, welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Terry and Debra, my heart is like bursting out of my chest. Everything you say just resonates so much. And I have such a fangirl moment seeing you 2 days in a row, Debra. Like yesterday we were in your show, and then today you were on Wisdom with your mother. Hi, Martha. We love you so much. And then now we get to see you here. I just wanted to pinpoint that you made it. What? You have a pension and now you have a producer for your album? You made it. Oh, I was over here clapping. I'm like, that's it. Oh my gosh. It was amazing. And Terry, what a beautiful interview. Oh, sorry. I choked there for a second. What a beautiful interview. I admire you both so much. And I'm just very grateful to share this moment with you.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Graciela, thank you. And I love Graciela's shows too.
That's fantastic. Dr. Lisa, would you like to jump in? Of course. Chomping at the bit.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is now my favorite of your shows. That's
quite a statement.
And it is, because I'm telling you, you have had some where I'm just like blown away. You're my spirit animal person. When she started talking, we look at life like all these problems that Terry listed that are going on, and we think we need to solve those, and the only thing we need to work on is us. And if each individual just did that, all of those other things dissolve into the ether, because we're living our best us.
Yes.
And so just her saying, I'm just like addicted to you right now. And this may only be the second time I've actually come on video on Terry's show.
Wow.
Not even for me, because I want you to see who I have coffee with in the
morning. Oh
morning.
my God. That's amazing.
That's my coffee. Wait, I tell people I pray to Jesus, but I chat with Buddha in the morning. Because he does like this. I hear you. Right. He knows. I need to have somebody to have that face to face. So Terry's got the candle. I've got the Buddha. I do have a question. I have a couple.
I'm sure.
If someone was doing a musical about your life, who would you pick to play you?
Whoa.
Great question.
Okay. That is something I'm going to have to chant about, actually. Yeah. Wow. I probably think because I can't think of somebody offhand, I probably think it's somebody who is unknown, to tell you the truth.
Oh,
And
I like that.
because that was that whole
Right.
thing with me. I kind of got discovered in a piano bar. That's my story, is like this Broadway director of Barnum named Joe Layton came into a piano bar and saw me and kind of paid my rent and started me off. I think it would have to be an unknown to really do it, you know?
Or Bruce Valanche.
Or Bruce Valanche could do the jokes. Yeah.
Or maybe Billy Porter, since he's now trying to impersonate you. Okay, another question. Do you look at your Buddhist, is it a practice? Is it a faith? How do you describe it? Because I've heard people who say it's not a religion, it's a practice or it's a philosophy.
I think it's a both practice and philosophy. Listen, I can look at all religions under the umbrella of Buddhism because it's the law of cause and effect for me. So like, I would tell someone who is Christian if they wanted to try it to chant to better understand Jesus. Like, for instance, you can use the law of cause and effect. And it's not like one way. Right. It's like if you want to be closer to Jesus, you know, chant to be closer to Jesus. Like you can do,
it's like,
you can. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I do think of it as a philosophy and a practice. Both. Yep.
And then my last one was, okay, Billy Porter.
Yes.
Just the next time you get a text urge or something, just holler and say, hey, you should try to just see if you could be on Terry's show. I'm just saying.
Wow. I'd love to have him.
Ask, and I'm just, that right there. Yeah. I'm just saying, we might as well put it out into the ether. She gets a producer. Billy Porter ends up on your show. And I don't know, my palm trees all live. I think that's a win-win-win.
Oh my God, Lisa, you were so funny. And I actually went to your first show, I think. Yeah, I did.
Oh, to Lisa's? Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to kidnap her for another one because I could do a whole show just on you talking about just being a Jewish Buddhist, Jewish Jubu.
Jubu, yeah.
And I lived in Brooklyn for a little while too, but because I think people need to understand whatever it is that you can find that helps you usher peace into your life, it can go alongside your religious practices, your religious belief. You don't have to be disowned by your parents. To figure out how to fit something else in. And there are just ancient wisdoms that we have missed because we've ignored them, because we've discredited other practices that happen around this world. And God already knew about all of them. It's not like we're going to surprise him.
Yeah. And you know, my mother, who is Jewish, and she's in the audience today, for years and years knew that there are 3 of us that chant in my family. There's 4 girls, 3 of us chant. And we would come home, and my mother made the cause to go and get the mandala that we chant in front of at her house, so we could just, when we came home, it would be there, which is an insane thing to do. But after all these years in the pandemic, when there was nothing to do, my mother read about our type of Buddhism and started chanting and really gets it now. So it's like 34 years later, my mother is talking to me about Buddhism. And by the way, I need to say something. Today would have been my father's 96th birthday.
Oh,
wow.
Well, then we dedicate this whole conversation to your dad. What was his name?
Jerry Barsha.
Jerry Barsha. We speak his name. Wow.
Oh, Lisa, thank you for everything you said too.
Oh, thank you for this. This has just been, I'm going to be floating around in the yard I've actually been floating around in the yard during some of this call because I just wanted to be around palm trees. So thank you again, Terry. Again.
Terry's
Thank you, Lisa.
pretty cool. Yeah.
It's just, well, you surround yourself with greatness. This is a great example with having you two in this conversation. And it's how I approach music. And certainly, you know, before I get to my closing questions, I want to slip in 2 other questions I'm just curious about. Sure. You can choose which of the 2 questions or answer them both. One is, I'm wondering how you manage your time and if you consider yourself a disciplined person. The other question is, what's changed about your perspective in life as you've gotten older?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I can answer them both real quick.
Okay.
I used to think I was a terrible procrastinator, and now I see that procrastination is part of my process. And that's a big deal for me because I'm writing or creating even when I'm not sitting down, right? So it'll be like, oh, I'm procrastinating. Now I just say, oh, that's interesting. It's not out yet. It's gestating. And then I'll sit down. 5 things will come out.
Right.
So that's how
Honor your process.
Honor your process instead of self-deprecating. Okay, that's one thing. And then I think the biggest thing I learned is that it's more important to listen than talk. I talk a lot. I can talk a lot. But to actively listen is really important, because it's not about what I want to say next. It's about, and my mother's actually been teaching me this, because I used to interrupt a lot. You'll see I get excited and I just blame it on being passionate, but it's not right. It's not right. For me, it's better for me to really listen and wait. And that's why I'm blown away when you asked me to interview me, because I'm like, oh, let me just listen to what he's asking me and answer. You know what I mean? Consciousness.
Right. You don't have to lead the conversation or direct the band.
Thank you.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. What is the quote? You might know this, or Dr. Lisa, but listen more than you speak. That's why God gave 2 ears and only one mouth.
Yeah, that's funny. Yes. I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah. My closing questions, and then I'll turn it over to you for any final thoughts. Since this show is called Making It,
right,
and we've already talked about how you view that, but what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Well, I'm gonna repeat something my mother once told me when I was very young, which is success. You don't have to put the 2 lines in the S for success. I thought that was really good. So it's not about money.
Right.
Making it to me is at each moment really following your authentic, creative self, and manifesting little by little what you need to do to every day, and really listening to yourself and allowing yourself to be that creative person. And that's making it for me. Yeah. I don't need to, to hear it from the outside. I don't need, although I love the applause.
It's nice.
Yeah. But that's it. And you'll know when you're in your funk or depression. That's not a good use. I need to do something. And I always say to people, write a bad song, write a terrible song. Just do something, right. Icebreaker thing. Just get it going. You can get it going.
Mm-hmm.
You can pull in, inspiration out. And you know what? And the byproduct of that is people recognizing you for what you do. That's the byproduct. But as long as you're proud of everything you do, that's making it to me.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. My second question, can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
Yes. First, believe in yourself. Definitely believe in yourself. Nobody else is required to do that but you. That is true. Nobody's required to believe in you. You are required to believe in yourself. Number 2, be willing to get off a point of view. Be willing and open to get off a point of view. That is the collaborative nature. And I think number 3 is, treat life as if you on your deathbed will have no regrets. So if you have to make hard decisions, you make them from, was that really important? I'm dying now. How is that a blip on the radar of my screen of life? Or is that something that's a real turning point for me and I need to do something? Those are them, and they have nothing to do with music, do they?
Nothing and everything.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But they're beautiful tips for having a good life, and that's really what the show is about.
Yes, you're right.
Because we don't just have musicians on the show; we have people who are creating successful lives.
That's
without the line through the S.
Without the line, see, Mom, they like that.
Yeah. I'm going to slip in one other question because I didn't want to interrupt you, but you're talking about just believe in yourself, and that's nobody else's job but your own. Were you encouraged by your mom and dad growing up and by your siblings, or were you discouraged? And that's not just about being an artist, about being queer, about being bold and beautiful and fantastic, like all of the things that you are. Were you encouraged?
Yes.
Okay.
Beyond belief. My parents, I knew I wanted to play the piano. I said, Mommy, I want a piano. She didn't even have she had a couch and no other furniture, and bought me at that time a $1,500 piano. It was ridiculous. And my parents, they were, they were wealthy, but not wealthy. I mean, they had, it was nice, and and she also started taking piano lessons with me in case it didn't work out. And I sailed right by her. But the point is that kind of support, if a child says, I want a piano, please get me a piano, and someone to listen, forget it. I had the most incredibly supportive parents. I just want to say that. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
How old were you when you asked for the piano?
7.
Beautiful. Well done, Mom. Good choice. My closing question to you is, at this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Breathe deeply and often, and listen to the smallest voice in your heart and brain, not the loud screaming ones, a little small one.
Wow.
That was a prayer, by the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The website is debrabarsha.com. And I want to, as I do in every show, I want to encourage and really push you to go subscribe to Debra Barsha's Spotify page and to mine and to any artist that you like. It only takes a moment, and it helps artists continue to make recorded music like this solo piano vocal album that we're going to be hearing in the next couple of years. So you can support. Yeah, that was live. Any closing thoughts, Barsha?
I just want to, I really have gratitude for you sitting me down and talking about my life and how, because I don't do it often. I really appreciate it. And I just want to thank you. That's all.
You're so very welcome. It's an honor, and it's really a joy to get to know you. As we have been, but even more so in interviewing each other. It's been a very unique way to do some speed dating with each other in a very personal way, not in sound bites, but a full, luxurious conversation.
Right.
So my absolute pleasure, and I'm so
excited. And you have an incredibly talented wife. By the way,
Melanie Taylor, the first reason why we know each other, it's through this format, through Fireside, but it's also my wife has worked with you and loves you and respects you and speaks so highly of you. So it's great that we're finally all coming together, and that because you all worked with the Yeah together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Melanie was I put together a little gospel chorus to do my arrangement of Sacrilege. And by the way, if anybody watched Suits, it was the theme song for years, Sacrilege. My whole gospel, it was that. Yeah, Sacrilege is my jam. I did the whole gospel choir arrangement on the Suits theme song.
That's so great. And also go check out on YouTube, check out Debra on the David Letterman show.
Yeah.
And give them the description so they can find it easily.
Just put in Sacrilege Letterman and you'll see me with the Broadway Inspirational Voices doing my vocal arrangement of Sacrilege. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Conducting. Yeah. Absolutely. Just barely, just shy of bursting into flames at the end of the show with the energy that you had. And that's what it takes. That's what it takes to really lead a band like that and a choir like that.
Yeah.
So bless you. Yeah, for all the beautiful work that you're doing. And I'm so excited to see what comes. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of our audience, our virtual audience. Thank you for being with us. Our audience who is enjoying the streaming podcast. We thank you. We appreciate you. Dr. Lisa, I really appreciate you. And of course, Debra, Barsha. This is fantastic. So thank you. Everybody, stay safe and stay inspired. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woolman.